Make your bed, Admiral William McRaven. Do you know that the simple act of making your bed could rewire your brain for success, happiness, and unstoppable momentum? You might have already heard Admiral William McRaven's viral speech, "Make your bed." But what you might not know is how this one tiny habit taps into powerful psychological triggers and Navy SEAL-tested strategies that can dramatically transform every aspect of your life. In today's video, we're unpacking Admiral McRaven's best-selling book, Make Your Bed. Little things that can change your life and maybe the world. Did you know your brain literally rewards you for small accomplishments by releasing dopamine, the ultimate motivation molecule? Those tiny habits, like fluffing a pillow or folding a blanket, aren't trivial. They're setting off a chemical chain reaction in your brain, creating unstoppable momentum and boosting your self-belief. And trust me, this isn't just theory. It's the same formula elite Navy SEALs rely on to master discipline and resilience. Curious how a seemingly insignificant morning routine turned a Navy SEAL training fiasco into a life lesson powerful enough to change your entire mindset. Stick around, because the secret to your biggest breakthroughs might just be hidden in your smallest habits. Chapter 1, start your day with a task completed. If you've heard anything about Admiral McRaven's philosophy, this is where it all begins. He famously said, "If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed." Now let's talk about why. In the book, McRaven recounts how in Navy SEAL training, each morning began with an inspection of your bed. The instructors demanded precise hospital corners, a pillow set at the perfect angle and not a single wrinkle in sight. Sound trivial, possibly. But psychologically, this trivial act was also the first accomplishment of the day. When you do something well, especially first thing in the morning, your brain registers a win. This sets off a cascade of motivation. Ever have one of those mornings where your alarm betrays you, your coffee machine stages a rebellion, and your socks decide to divorce right before you're supposed to leave? You dash out the door, bed unmade, feeling like you're starring in a low-budget disaster movie. But then there are mornings when you take 2 extra minutes to make your bed, corners tucked like you're auditioning for the housekeeping Olympics, and somehow you walk out the door thinking, "Today, the universe answers to me." That's exactly the phenomenon Admiral McRaven is tapping into. Psychologist Dr. Teresa Amabile from Harvard Business School emphasizes the progress principle. Making steady progress in meaningful work leads to positive emotions and motivation. Even a tiny bit of progress, like tidying your bed, can start your psychological engine for the day. Another popular concept is the keystone habit, coined by Charles Duhigg. A keystone habit is a practice that triggers widespread positive change. Making your bed, for some people, can be a keystone habit. In McRaven's telling, making your bed also demands discipline, doing something precisely and consistently, even when you don't feel like it. Over time, your identity shifts. You start to see yourself as someone who pays attention to detail, someone who finishes what they start, and who is ready to take on bigger tasks. He notes how in basic SEAL training, the slightest imperfection meant you might get punished with exercises like sugar cookies, where you'd have to roll around in wet sand head to toe. This wasn't random cruelty. It was to teach resilience and the reality that you can do everything right and still get criticized or forced into an undesirable situation, yet you push on anyway. Actionable steps you can take. 1. Make your bed challenge. For the next 7 days, commit to making your bed perfectly each morning. Notice how it impacts your mood and sense of order. 2. Extend this mindset elsewhere. Pick one other micro-task, for example, washing your coffee mug right after you use it, and aim for 7 days of consistency. 3. Reward yourself, celebrate mentally. Give yourself a mini "yay me" moment. This positive reinforcement cements the habit. No matter how busy, stressed, or uncertain your day might be, you have full control over that bed making. It's a small corner of your life you can arrange beautifully, setting a tone of victory. As Admiral McRaven suggests, even if you have a miserable day, you come home to a bed that's made. That mental anchor can be everything. Speaking of everything, in our next section, we'll explore how no one truly accomplishes anything alone. And we'll share a heart-pounding story from Admiral McRaven's personal parachuting experiences that changed his perspective on teamwork forever. Chapter 2, You Can't Go It Alone. Admiral McRaven sets the tone with a vivid image. SEAL trainees lugging around a massive inflatable boat everywhere. 7 men to a boat, running, paddling in sync, persisting through the pounding surf. Why? Because it's impossible to pass the punishing demands of SEAL training solo. From the book, one especially powerful anecdote is his near-fatal parachute jump. McRaven describes how a mid-air collision caused a catastrophic parachute malfunction, resulting in severe injuries. He was bedridden for weeks. During his slow recovery, who kept him afloat? His wife, Georgine, provided unwavering, tough love. His colleagues, who phoned or visited day in and day out. And his commanding officer, Admiral Eric Olson, went the extra mile so McRaven could continue his career despite the medical board's concerns. Without this network, he might have lost everything, physically and professionally. In today's culture, people often idolize self-sufficiency. But in reality, lone wolf success stories are rare or incomplete. Psychologist Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs highlights how belonging and social support are fundamental to our well-being. More recent research in neuroscience suggests we are literally wired to connect. Our brains produce oxytocin, the bonding hormone, when we have supportive relationships, which fosters trust and empathy. Imagine you're launching a small business. You might think, I'll do it all: marketing, finances, product design. But eventually your bandwidth hits a limit. You might burn out. The second you connect with mentors, hire specialized team members, or ask a friend for guidance, you supercharge your progress. This principle is exactly what Admiral McRaven highlights. You need a solid crew to paddle the boat with you, especially in stormy waters. Actionable steps you can take. 1. Identify your boat crew. List 5 people in your life who regularly show up for you. This can be friends, family, colleagues, or mentors. Let them know how vital they are. 2. Reciprocity in relationships. Teamwork isn't just about taking, it's also about giving. Look for ways to support others. This might mean offering expertise, emotional support, or just an ear to listen. 3. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Big or small issues, do not let pride get in the way. Admiral McRaven's story reminds us that none of us is bulletproof, and that's okay. Even the toughest Navy SEAL recognized his success hinged on support from others. So what can we learn here? Simple. Don't wait until you're in a life-and-death situation to figure out the power of leaning on your team. And that leads us seamlessly into Chapter 3, which is about the true measure of a person. It's not your height, weight, or even your net worth that matters. Admiral McRaven has an unforgettable way of putting it. Only the size of your heart matters. Chapter 3, Only the size of your heart matters. Admiral McRaven states, if you want to change the world, measure a person by the size of their heart. He shares experiences from SEAL training that prove physical appearance or background can be misleading. Grit, determination, and the willingness to prove yourself can trump all else. One of the book's memorable scenes involves a short seaman recruit, barely 5'4". An imposing 6-foot-plus SEAL instructor questions if this recruit can really survive the big waves pounding Coronado's beaches. The recruit simply refuses to give up, ending up near the top of the class on a grueling ocean swim. What's the key lesson? People regularly underestimate others based on superficial traits: height, age, race, finances, and family background. But success in training and in life often hinges on intangible qualities like resilience and burning passion. The short guy's unwavering drive overcame what seemed like an impossible disadvantage. McRaven also recounts meeting Tom Norris, a Vietnam Medal of Honor recipient who looked physically unassuming, even fragile. Yet Norris executed legendary rescues and overcame severe injuries. This underscores a vital principle. Outward appearances rarely convey the full measure of inner strength. Research shows that people can unknowingly limit themselves by internalizing stereotypes. For example, I'm too small, I'm too old, I don't have the right background. But if you prove these stereotypes wrong repeatedly, you gain confidence that propels you forward. Actionable steps you can take. 1. Surprise people and yourself. Take on at least one challenge that feels too big. The key is consistent effort, training, and an unstoppable mindset. 2. Reject self-imposed limits. Notice any time you say, I'm not good enough, or I'm not X, Y, or Z enough. Challenge that with, prove me wrong, exactly like the SEAL instructor whispered to the short recruit. 3. Uplift others. Sometimes we see a coworker or friend we might think is unqualified. Recognize that your judgments could be off. Encourage them instead. You might discover they become your greatest ally. Look, if Admiral McRaven learned this from a recruit and from a quiet Medal of Honor recipient, the principle stands for us all. The heart, your grit, determination, and willingness to outwork doubt. matters so much more than raw talent or physical attributes. Now, ironically, even if your heart is big, life won't always be fair. The next chapter reminds us that sometimes you do everything right but still land face first in the sand. Chapter 4, Life's Not Fair. Drive on. Picture this: you spend hours crafting the perfect resume, tailoring your cover letter, and nailing the interview. You walk out thinking, "I crushed it," only to find out the job went to the CEO's nephew, whose greatest qualification is knowing how to forward an email. Meanwhile, your friend lands a dream job by casually mentioning their availability at a brunch. Or maybe you're at the grocery store, you pick the shortest checkout line, feeling like a strategic genius, until the person in front of you pulls out a stack of expired coupons, argues for a price check, and suddenly every other line is moving at light speed. Why? Because sometimes life just isn't fair, but you push forward anyway. McRaven observed that you can follow every rule and still get singled out for a punishment. The broader message: life will never guarantee a fair outcome. This sugar cookie exercise hammered home that adversity can strike even if you do everything flawlessly. Think about it: how many times have you worked super hard at your job only to be overlooked for a promotion? Or studied intensely for an exam only to be asked about the one topic you overlooked? This can feel demoralizing, but if you let the unfairness break you, you'll never achieve your potential. You have to drive on, as McRaven says. Martin Seligman's work on learned helplessness reveals that people who repeatedly encounter random adversity might start believing they have no control, and thus they give up. But if you reframe that adversity as a challenge you can handle, much like the sugar cookie scenario, your resilience stays intact. You realize it's not your fault. The world can be chaotic, but you still control your attitude. How to turn unfairness into fuel. 1. Adopt a growth mindset. Accept that unfairness is part of the landscape. Use each disappointment as an opportunity to refine your mental toughness. 2. Don't take it personally. Sometimes the universe or your environment is just random. It's not always about you. 3. Channel your frustration constructively. Instead of complaining, ask, "What can I learn from this? How do I bounce back stronger?" Ever had your phone randomly die during an important Zoom call? Or had a coworker who always gets the credit for your ideas? That's your sugar cookie moment. Instead of throwing a tantrum, see it as part of the process. Channel that frustration into going forward. So next time you get sanded up by life, remember McRaven's advice: keep pressing on. Drive forward. The sugar cookie effect is an unstoppable part of existence, and ironically, it can mold you into a more resourceful, grounded person. We've talked about being unfairly thrown into the surf. But what happens when you fail for real? When your performance just isn't up to par? Next, we'll uncover why repeated failure might be the single best stepping stone to ultimate success. Chapter 5, Failure Can Make You Stronger. Imagine being exhausted halfway through basic SEAL training and you just bombed your timed run. You come in last place, so guess what? You're assigned to the circus. 2 extra hours of grueling physical training that night. Then you're so sore the next day that you bomb the next event, earning you another circus. Talk about a vicious cycle. Admiral McRaven uses the circus to illustrate how repeated failures, though painful, can ironically become your greatest strength. Why? Because the students who stuck with the extra workouts got stronger physically and mentally. The rest either quit or stayed average. Failure stings, no doubt, but it also can sharpen your resolve if you lean into it. Think about how weightlifting works. You literally break down muscle fibers. They heal back stronger. That same principle applies psychologically. Each failure that doesn't break you will strengthen you if you process it in a healthy way. Repetitive challenges can build mental toughness, akin to forging steel. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for self-control and resilience, can be strengthened via repeated exposure to stress if you manage your stress recovery well. That's why elite military units put candidates through repeated cycles of hardship. The circus in real life. One career example: missed a promotion, didn't land that dream client. Keep refining your skills, networking, and reapplying. Each no is a learning experience. 2 fitness example: couldn't run the 5K as fast as you hoped. Keep training incrementally, learn from the pain. The next time you'll be stronger. 3 entrepreneur example: launched a product that flopped. That's your circus. Use the extra workouts, the lessons gleaned from the flop, to pivot your approach. Maybe you discover a marketing tweak or a better product niche. Key takeaways: 1. Reframe failure. See each shortfall as a stepping stone. 2. Stay consistent. Don't skip your extra PT. Instead, do more reps. 3. Support system. If you're stuck in repeated failures, talk to someone who's been there. Much like in Chapter 2, a support crew can help you push through the circus. Trust me, we've all had our share of circuses, those moments when things blow up spectacularly in our faces. Like when we ambitiously decide to cook an elaborate dinner after watching a single cooking video, only to serve up something resembling burnt cardboard. Or when we confidently try assembling furniture without instructions, ending up with 3 leftover screws and a shelf facing backward. Sure, these adventures crash and burn, but each misstep teaches us something valuable, nudging us closer to success the next time around. That's exactly the pattern Admiral McRaven highlights, using adversity as fuel rather than letting it crush our spirit. But let's face it, not everyone is comfortable taking big risks that could end in failure. Chapter 6 addresses that head-on, urging us to slide down the obstacle course head-first. Chapter 6, you must dare greatly. Here's a question. Have you ever hesitated to try something new because you feared falling flat on your face? Admiral McRaven in Chapter 6 says that to really change your life, or the world, you have to occasionally do the equivalent of sliding down the slide for life, obstacle head-first. The obstacle course McRaven describes includes a rope slide from a 30-foot tower down to the ground. The safer technique is to inch your way while hanging beneath the rope, aka possum style, but it's also slower. The riskier, faster approach is commando style, sliding head-first, trusting your grip and momentum. McRaven overcame his fear and ended up clocking a personal best. We all face slides for life. Maybe you're deciding whether to 1. Launch a new business. 2. Ask your boss for a big raise or promotion. 3. Move to a new city, leaving your comfort zone behind. But sometimes you have to trust your training, instincts, or gut feeling. Taking the head-first approach can yield big results, but also be mindful that daring greatly is not about reckless leaps. It's about calculated risk supported by preparation. Studies show that people often overestimate the probability of negative outcomes and underestimate their ability to handle them. This is tied to the negativity bias in psychology. Our brains fixate on what could go wrong. To counteract that, some people systematically evaluate risk versus reward or do micro-experiments, like practicing public speaking in small groups before tackling a large stage. The point is, boldness can be cultivated, not just spontaneously willed into existence. McRaven also shares a dramatic story of a daylight hostage rescue in Iraq, where the only option was a high-risk helicopter landing inside the enemy compound. Doing it at night was safer, but time constraints forced them to gamble in daylight. The payoff? Successful rescue of 3 hostages. That's the essence of who dares wins, a motto famously associated with the British Special Air Service, and it resonates strongly in this chapter. So if you're hesitating on a big decision right now, maybe leaving a job that drains you or investing in a dream project, ask yourself, have I done my homework? Have I done some practice runs? If yes, then maybe it's time to go for it. Slide down that obstacle course head first. But hold on, what if there are bullies waiting at the bottom of that rope or sharks in the water? Chapter 7, Stand Up to the Bullies. McRaven says, if you want to change the world, don't back down from the sharks. He's speaking partly literally, about the sharks lurking off San Clemente Island where seals do night swims, and partly metaphorically about bullies in life who feed on fear. The night swim scene is intense. Imagine blackness all around, cold water, and the knowledge that great white sharks inhabit the area. The instructors teach you to fight back if you see a shark. They say, punch it in the snout. The bigger lesson is that fear is a bully's greatest weapon. Whether it's a school bully, workplace manipulator, or a totalitarian leader, if they sense your fear, they'll use it against you. Admiral McRaven references Saddam Hussein, who, even after being captured, tried to intimidate Iraqi leaders that visited him. Despite losing power, he acted confidently, relying on his old tactics of psychological dominance. Only when those around him refused to cower did his power truly vanish. This underscores how bullies thrive on compliance or passivity. Human beings often avoid confrontation because it's uncomfortable. We might worry about repercussions or about making a scene. But letting a bully or manipulator roam free can lead to bigger problems down the line. Overcoming that fear means 1. Knowing your worth, understanding you deserve respect. 2. Being prepared. If it's a shark, you know how to fight. If it's a tyrant, you unite with others or leverage the law. 3. Recognizing you're not alone. Circle back to Chapter 2 about teamwork. Perhaps you have a coworker who regularly belittles you in meetings. The fear is that if you speak up, you might get singled out or risk losing your job. But if you calmly, firmly stand your ground, or involve HR, or get allies on your side, that coworker's bullying power crumbles. The same principle applies to an entire nation under a dictator or a child at a playground. Look, we're not suggesting you look for fights. But when a bully corners you or a fearsome shark circles, the worst thing you can do is show your neck. The second you stand firm, even if it feels risky, you defy their psychological hold. So you've tackled the bullies. But what about those truly heartbreaking or darkest moments in life, like losing someone dear or facing catastrophe? Chapter 8, Rise to the Occasion. This chapter resonates deeply. If you want to change the world, be your very best in the darkest moments. McRaven shares the grueling tasks of dive phase in SEAL training, culminating in extremely difficult underwater missions under low visibility, plus a real-life moment at Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, honoring fallen warriors in a somber ramp ceremony. Dark moments aren't only about literal darkness. They're about emotional, spiritual, or situational bleakness, like losing a loved one, encountering an existential crisis, or facing war. The Admiral's point, how we act under duress, reveals our core character. If we can find composure and generosity in these moments, we can transform tragedy into unity and hope. McRaven describes ramp ceremonies for fallen soldiers, arguably some of the bleakest moments for military communities. Yet these ceremonies are also poignant displays of respect, unity, and love, crossing rank, nationality, and background. People stand together to honor the sacrifice, ensuring no warrior's memory is forgotten. This is a testament to rising to the occasion with grace and reverence. Even if we're not soldiers, we face personal tragedies: the death of a family member, a breakup, a job loss. These can feel like the floor just gave out beneath us. The challenge? Not to become bitter or numb, but to channel our sorrow into compassion, empathy, or a resolve to carry on the legacy of what we lost. Tips for rising to the occasion. 1. Prepare in good times. Build strong routines, supportive relationships, and spiritual or emotional practices when life is stable. This forms a reserve of strength. 2. Lean on your values. In tragedy, remember your fundamental values: family, integrity, faith, friendship. Let them guide your decisions. 3. Honor and ritual. Ceremonies or symbolic gestures help process grief. Consider a personal ritual to mark a loss or a major setback. Light a candle, write a letter, or volunteer in memory of someone. COVID-19 was a collective dark moment for the entire globe. People who rose to the occasion, like healthcare workers who worked tirelessly, or neighbors who checked on the elderly, reminded us that humans can unite under hardship. This is exactly what Admiral McRaven praises: those who respond to adversity with empathy and courage. Chapter 9, Give people hope. Imagine you're stuck waist-deep in freezing mud in the dead of night, exhausted beyond belief, with instructors offering you warmth and rest if only a few of your teammates give up. Sounds tempting, doesn't it? McRaven recounts exactly this scenario during the infamous Hell Week. But just as hopelessness was about to claim the class, one recruit started singing. Terribly off-key, yes, but passionately and proudly, and suddenly morale surged through everyone present. Now you might wonder what magic lies in a few poorly sung notes. The answer: hope. Hope is uniquely human. It's not about ignoring harsh reality. It's about believing that something good can still happen, even amid disaster. Hope isn't just a fuzzy feeling. It's scientifically backed as a powerful psychological motivator. Research from positive psychology consistently finds that hopeful individuals enjoy better physical and mental health, higher performance levels, and greater overall resilience in the face of setbacks. According to Dr. Shane Lopez, author of Making Hope Happen, hope isn't passive. It's an active decision, a conscious act of courage. McRaven vividly describes the Tijuana mudflats during SEAL training. One recruit begins singing, horribly off-key, and others join him, symbolizing unity, defiance against hardship, and collective emotional resilience. It's this action that sparks renewed strength in the entire group. Admiral McRaven wasn't just recounting an interesting story. He was highlighting that hope is contagious. It's transformative. Ever been in the library at 2 a.m., drowning in textbooks, fueled solely by energy drinks and desperation, convinced that passing tomorrow's final is impossible? Suddenly, someone whispers, "What if we just quit school and start a taco truck?" Laughter erupts, the tension evaporates, and soon the group is refocused, spirits strangely lifted. That's hope. It transforms exhaustion into possibility. Or think of that moment when your entire class is panicking about an impossibly complicated assignment, until one student calmly shares a YouTube tutorial titled, "Quantum Physics Explained by a 12-Year-Old." Instantly, collective despair gives way to determination. That's the spark Admiral McRaven talks about, the ability of hope to turn frustration into resilience. How you can be the one who gives hope. 1. Initiate positivity. When the mood dips, be the one to introduce an optimistic narrative or even humor to break the tension. 2. Build shared goals. Bring your team together around a collective vision. Hope thrives when groups see a common goal clearly. 3. Small acts of defiance. Even in tough times, tiny actions like sending a supportive text or offering a small favor can powerfully uplift those around you. The truth is, hope is rarely about grand gestures. It's usually the small, everyday acts of courage that transform dark moments. McRaven reminds us beautifully that hope's true power lies not in changing the situation immediately, but in strengthening us to persevere until change becomes possible. But what if even hope seems lost, and quitting feels like the only rational choice? Chapter 10, Never Ever Quit. Here's a truth you might find uncomfortable but absolutely crucial. Life will always offer you an easy way out. In this final chapter, McRaven sums up every lesson with a striking metaphor, a brass bell hanging in the SEAL training compound. Ringing it 3 times meant quitting, no questions, no fuss. It meant instant relief and instant regret. Let's talk about why not ringing that bell is one of the most powerful life decisions you can ever make. The brass bell symbolizes quitting, giving up your dreams, ambitions, and hard-earned progress. But psychologically, quitting has deeper impacts. Research on resilience from psychologist Angela Duckworth reveals that grit, perseverance, and passion for long-term goals is a more reliable predictor of success than talent or IQ alone. Humans instinctively seek comfort, especially when faced with pain or difficulty. The promise of immediate relief often eclipses long-term success. But every time you quit early, your brain learns quitting as an easy escape route, weakening your resilience muscle. McRaven's metaphor is profound. Every day during training, he saw strong, capable individuals choosing relief over growth. But those who resisted the bell not only survived, they thrived. Maybe you're in a tough job that demands relentless effort, or struggling to build a new habit, or pursuing entrepreneurship and hitting walls daily. The temptation to ring the bell is everywhere: Netflix instead of studying, skipping workouts when tired, or abandoning projects when they get tough. But here's the secret McRaven emphasizes. Every great success story involves countless moments when quitting seemed logical, yet perseverance won the day. The brass bell symbolizes something deeper than physical discomfort. It symbolizes regret. What if Admiral McRaven had quit SEAL training? He would have lost not just a career, but the chance to make history. He oversaw the raid on Osama bin Laden years later. Likewise, your biggest dreams might lie just beyond your toughest moment. Think about dating. Ever had a tough breakup that made you want to swear off relationships altogether and adopt 10 cats instead? If you rang that emotional bell, you might never meet someone amazing who's waiting around the corner. Persistence matters, not just romantically, but in every worthwhile pursuit. Actionable steps you can take. 1. Burn the boats. Remove your escape options. Commitment deepens when quitting becomes inconvenient. 2. Remember your why. Clearly identify why your goal matters. Remind yourself constantly. 3. Small steps count. Celebrate incremental progress to sustain motivation. Listen closely. Never underestimate the power of simply refusing to quit. Whatever you're facing right now, whether it's career hurdles, personal struggles, or pursuing your passion project, do not ring that bell. Admiral McRaven reminds us powerfully. Quitting is often the easiest, but also the most permanent solution, robbing you of the future you deserve. Actionable steps. All right, let's gather every golden nugget from these chapters to forge a practical plan you can carry forward. We'll then wrap up with an inspiring close that you won't want to miss. Recap of each key principle. Chapter 1, start your day with a task completed. Key idea: make your bed first thing, or find a similarly small, winnable action to spark daily productivity. Challenge: tomorrow morning, do that bed-making ritual. Spend an extra 30 seconds on the corners and pillow alignment. Reflect on how it feels to have accomplished something right away. Chapter 2: You can't go it alone. Key idea: the best achievements come via collaboration and support. Challenge: pick one significant goal. Maybe you want to lose weight, change careers, or pick up a new skill. Identify at least one accountability buddy or mentor to help you. Don't do it alone. Chapter 3: Only the size of your heart matters. Key idea: don't let superficial metrics define you or define others. Grit and determination can outdo raw talent. Challenge: take on something you feel outmatched in. Step into a training course or volunteer for a project you typically avoid because you don't feel qualified. Watch how heart can compensate for inexperience. Chapter 4: Life's not fair, drive on. Key idea: accept that some days you'll get sugar-cookied for no logical reason. Keep going anyway. Challenge: next time you face an unfair situation, a car cutting you off, an unearned scolding from your boss, respond calmly and productively. Remind yourself life is not always fair, and that's okay. Move forward. Chapter 5: Failure can make you stronger. Key idea: let repeated failures, the circus, build your fortitude. Challenge: if you fail at something, identify 1-3 lessons from that failure. Write them in a journal. Revisit them often so you transform mistakes into stepping stones. Chapter 6: You must dare greatly. Key idea: sometimes you have to take the bold, head-first approach, trusting your preparedness. Challenge: think of a scenario where you've been holding back out of fear. Make a plan to address it boldly, like asking for that raise, starting that side hustle, or confronting a personal fear. Start small if needed, but commit to being daring. Chapter 7: Stand up to the bullies. Key idea: bullies or sharks rely on fear. Once you stand your ground, their power diminishes. Challenge: identify any bully in your life. Could be a peer, a habit, or even an internal negative voice. Map out a direct, assertive response to address or eliminate that intimidation. Chapter 8: Rise to the occasion. Key idea: in your darkest moments, resolve to be your best. Challenge: if you're currently facing hardship, job loss, heartbreak, family illness, dedicate a small daily ritual, like a gratitude list or meditation, to maintain your composure and empathy. Practice showing kindness even in your sadness or stress. Chapter 9: Give people hope. Key idea: a single spark of optimism or leadership can pull everyone out of despair. Challenge: next time you sense collective gloom, maybe your team missed a big deadline or your family is stressed, take the initiative to do something uplifting. Send a funny group message, organize a small victory party, or literally start singing if that's your jam. Chapter 10: Never ever quit. Key idea: resilience isn't about never failing. It's about refusing to stay down when you do. Challenge: the next time you hit a setback, maybe a tough grade shakes your confidence, your business idea flops, or you're rejected from your dream internship. Pause, breathe, and then deliberately remind yourself of your deeper goals. Write down one reason why quitting isn't an option, share your determination with a close friend, or watch a motivational talk to recharge your drive. Remember, success often comes right after you're tempted to throw in the towel. When your alarm goes off tomorrow, are you going to let your bed stay messy, or will you make that bed and claim your first victory of the day? If adversity slaps you, will you back down, or will you stand firm and adapt, remembering that life's not fair but you can drive on anyway? When you see a friend in need, will you help them paddle or watch from the sidelines? You have the power to choose. These are not just SEAL lessons. They're universal guides for any person wanting to refine their life. Maybe you're a student wrestling with exams, a single parent balancing endless tasks, or an aspiring entrepreneur facing rejection. Whoever you are, these fundamental principles can be your pillars of strength. 1. Try one principle immediately. Pick the one that spoke loudest to you. Maybe it's the daring approach, or maybe it's the daily bed-making routine. Implement it tomorrow morning. 2. Comment below. Share which principle you're going to apply. If you've already tested any of these ideas, let us know how it's been going. 3. Encourage others. Tag a friend who needs a reminder that small actions lead to big changes. Let's not just watch a YouTube video and move on. Let's transform. Let's reclaim our mornings, strengthen our bonds, own our failures, and dare greatly. Let's stand up to the bullies, rise in the darkest hours, and share hope with those who need it most. Because small things done right can ripple out to make a huge difference in the world. Thanks so much for spending your valuable time with me on this long, in-depth breakdown. Remember, your bed is waiting for you tomorrow morning, and that small act might just be the start of something extraordinary in your life.